The Incredible Hulk, or I guess technically just Hulk. This is a 2003 Marvel film, and it's always weird to go back to these early 2000s, mid 2000s Marvel films because they didn't quite get it right just yet. Obviously, the Hulk as a character was very well known by this point because of the 1970s show with Bill Bixby. And even I'm aware of that show, and I wasn't around or alive when it was out. But still, it was iconic. It was something that everybody would reference and everybody watched at the time. So to bring the character back with modern technology, CGI was becoming a big deal thanks to Spider Man. So it made sense. It made sense why you'd want to update the Hulk and see what you can do with the character, how big we can make him, how cool we could make this story go. So you get Ang Lee as a director who, when you look at his filmography, I'm pretty fine with him as a director for the most part. Uh, I don't know if he's the first guy because of his filmography that you would think to do a big action Hulk film. But hey, he went for something different. He definitely did. The story is at the beginning in the 1960s. David Banner, the father of Bruce Banner, he tries to create some super soldier serum for the government. He's mixing it with animal DNA to create it. General Ross finds out about this, quickly shuts it down. Of course, Banner still wants to do it. He believes in it. He thinks it can work. So he experiments on himself. And then he has a son, and he notices that the son has some weird things about him, and maybe he inherited this DNA from the experiment. So Banner feels bad, feels guilty. He's trying to seek a cure for his son until Ross, General Ross, stops him. This whole traumatic event happens that Bruce Banner, because he was a kid and because it was really bad, doesn't remember any of it. We jump ahead to modern day where Eric Bana plays Bruce Banner. And Eric Bana, as an actor, I'm fine with. I know that maybe he's not the most believable as a lead, and I like him more in supporting roles, side roles. As Bruce Banner, I just think that it's not really his fault. He was asked to make those goofy faces when he gets angry, or to make those weird sounds when he's trying to describe his anger to Betty. And it's just, there's awkward, cringy moments with him, but I don't blame him as an actor for that. I blame more the writing and the directing. Also, it's hard when the editing style of this movie is through comic book. Like, I know that it's a comic book movie, and when you're your own director who likes to do your own things, you probably want to accentuate that. You want to show off that it's a comic book, and you want to have these cross cuts. And yes, it is different. Yes, it is original. And yes, it is bad. It's just, it's awkward. All of these uh, other shots being thrown in, and it's confusing because you don't know where to look, and just leave that shit for the comic books. I don't need to watch a movie on screen and see three or four different angles and different shots of the same scenes because it's just, it's more annoying, it's more distracting than anything else. Bruce Banner, he forgot everything about the traumatic event because he was raised by other people. We don't know exactly what happened with his parents. And one day at the lab that he works at, he's a scientist, this experiment goes wrong and he gets exposed to gamma radiation. I love saying gamma radiation because it's so silly, but it is from the comic books. It is something Stan Lee himself created, but it's funny still as it is. So he somehow survives this. Normally, you would have died, or a normal person would have died. He's in the hospital. You see Jennifer Connelly, who plays Betty, his girlfriend. I love Jennifer Connelly. I do. She's a great actress, and I really like her casting as Betty. I don't think the character is written all that well, but once again, not Jennifer Connelly's fault. She's trying here. It sucks that she is so synonymous with this particular Hulk film because we'll probably never see her in a Marvel movie again. I know she does the voice for Spider-Man's suit, and that's very cool, but still, I still think as an actress, she could have been a different character. A new janitor is working at the lab, some crazy guy, played by Nick Nolte. So, some crazy guy is an accurate description. Just looking at this guy, he looks homeless, he looks nuts. Uh, but that's just Nick Nolte, right? It's not like Nick Nolte will clean himself up. I mean, nowadays he will. Nowadays he looks more normal. But back then, back during this time, he was wacky, man. They definitely casted him because they wanted this character to be crazy and out there. He is claiming to be Bruce Banner's father, which Bruce doesn't initially believe. He thinks he's just a wacko. He tests his own DNA, though, and comes to find out that he is, in fact, related to this guy, which messes him up and brings him back to some repressed memories. He gets stressed out, and he becomes the Hulk. Now, I'll be honest, it feels like 45 minutes go by before we finally see Bruce Banner become the Hulk. It takes a long time, but if you want to argue that it's an origin film and a lot of origins, it does take 45 minutes to almost an hour before the hero gets into the suit and becomes the hero that you want. Usually, though, it's not this boring. But all right, fine. We're finally here. We're finally at the moment when he's becoming the Hulk and he's growing. He's turning green. Even Nick Nolte's there and sees him become this. But he doesn't really do anything. He destroys a wall and he breaks some stuff and then he jumps out of the building and leaves. We don't see an action scene. We don't see him interact with maybe anyone on the streets or any criminals or cops. Nothing. Bruce Banner just wakes up the next morning and doesn't remember anything. And General Ross shows up, played by Sam Elliott, really good actor. He shows up to question him because he thinks something is up. And because Bruce Banner doesn't remember anything, technically he's not lying, but he decides to put him under house arrest, which, okay, it's not like they have much proof, but fine. He's under house arrest. David Banner tells Bruce Banner about what happened when he was a kid, about the DNA and the exposure, and that's probably why he survived the gamma radiation. That's why he survived it, because of the experiments that was done to him when he was a kid. I didn't really need this either. The whole idea that this was fate, or the whole reason why Bruce became the Hulk is because of experiments that his father did to him when he was a kid. It's very convoluted. It's very all over the place. I don't need his father to be the reason why. I don't need the father character at all. Why is his father here? I know Ang Lee wanted to go for a more personal story, a more introspective story, and maybe if you want to argue, who are you going to get as a villain for the Hulk? I don't know. I don't think his father, Nick Nolte, was the best call. You see, speaking of villains, another character, Major Talbot, he shows up and he is pissed. He's blaming Bruce for something with his work, and he starts attacking him in his home. Bruce starts to turn into the Hulk, and this is the first good shot that we see of Bruce becoming the Hulk, of the transformation, because the first time it was dark, it was in shadow, and honestly, it looked good because it was in shadow, because you couldn't really see it, because the CGI here, when you see him in the light, and he's becoming green, and he's becoming bigger, and his shirt is ripping, it looks terrible. I can't imagine. I know it's 2003. I know, and I'm sure they were a lot more forgiving back then with the CGI. But I can't imagine even back then people thought this really looked good. This looks like a cartoon. This looks like Who Framed Roger Rabbit or Space Jam or any movie where cartoon characters interact with real life people. That's how bad this Hulk looks. It doesn't help that for whatever reason they have this thing where the madder Hulk gets, the bigger he gets. So he could potentially grow to be the size of like Godzilla. And I don't like that. I just think it makes him look too big and it makes the CGI look even more fake. And uh, David Banner tells Bruce that he's going to kill Betty because he has these infected dogs, these Hulk dogs, which they too are CGI. And it does look pretty bad as well. But hey, you get the Hulk fighting a bunch of Hulk dogs. As dumb as that sounds, I'll take it. At this point, I'm so bored. I'm so sleepy. I'm so tired of watching virtually nothing happen on screen that I will take a big action scene of Hulk fighting dogs. In fact, there were moments, not anymore, not nowadays, especially now that we have a bunch of MCU Marvel movies. I'll gladly go to watch them first. But there was a time when this was the only Hulk movie I had, I would go back and just watch these Hulk action scenes because I was desperate. I was desperate for anything Marvel, and this is all that I had. So you get this fight where Hulk does viciously kill these dogs. So there's that. He has an interaction with Betty that's kind of nice and kind of sweet. He shrinks from being the Hulk and he turns human again. And this is where I don't understand Betty. Look, I know that it's your boyfriend and that he clearly does have something wrong with him because he's turning into a big green dude. But I never appreciated that she was quick to call her father, call the military, and have Bruce captured. It just seemed wrong to me. As much as I want to like Jennifer Connelly, as much as I want to buy the Bruce and Betty relationship, this just seems messed up. And maybe it is more realistic for her to do it, but I preferred the Betty who was willing to go on the run with Bruce. Talbot is taunting him some more as Bruce is captured and tied up. And this Talbot character I never liked. I find him very annoying. This actor I find very annoying. So every scene, obviously I'm supposed to be annoyed by him, but every scene I want this guy to go away. David Banner is trying to recreate the experiment that turned his son into the Hulk because why not? And in doing so, he doesn't become the Hulk, but he turns into Absorbing Man, which I didn't even realize was a real comic book character. I just called him that watching this movie. I assumed that would be his name, and then I looked it up, and that's in fact his name. Real simple and easy to come up with, I guess. His whole thing is that his body, like his hand, you could see in this scene, adapts to whatever he touches, and even his blood won't spill out, and I guess he can't die. I don't know. And then he hands himself over to the military once he finds out that Bruce Banner is there. So you get a scene of Bruce having a nightmare because of his father telling him that the father killed the mother and she was protecting Bruce from him. And this, he has a nightmare that sends him into a rage. And I know Ang Lee was going for this inner demons, this interpersonal stuff, and trying to make Bruce Banner a more sympathetic and complicated character. But I don't care about these nightmares and about his backstory and about his family, and this is the source of his anger. I just want to see him become the Hulk. So you do see him become the Hulk. He does break out of the facility. Talbot basically kills himself because he's an idiot. He tries to capture Hulk with some weird, horrible CGI, gooey like stuff. I still don't know what that stuff is, but he captures him and then he tries to hit him with a grenade launcher, and he blows himself up like an idiot because the Hulk has impenetrable skin. You dumbass. So Talbot dies. Thank God. I don't feel bad at all. And the Hulk gets bigger and bigger in size, so it looks really bad when he's running around the facility and all the people look like ants to him. He goes out into the desert. I do like this sequence, and this is one of the sequences that I would rewatch so many years ago, when he's in the desert and he's fighting against the army, the military, the tanks. That one scene where he grabs a tank and throws it and he's bending all of them apart. Like, it's cool to see the Hulk destroy things, smash things. It takes so long to get there. You get a bunch of scenes of Hulk looking at plants and looking at things and jumping in the sky and being at peace, blah, 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 blah. He's fighting off helicopters. He somehow is so fast that he winds up in San Francisco. From the desert to San Francisco, and he's causing chaos there. This is all well and good until Betty shows up to calm him down. Betty's the only thing that does calm Bruce Banner down, so at least they got that right. I still think Betty was a bitch to constantly get this guy captured, because what do you know? He's captured again. How many times do we have to see Bruce Banner be captured by the military and locked up? We see it again, where this time he's locked in an area with his dad. Who thought this was a good idea? Clearly whoever wrote the script. And his father is taunting him because everybody wants to taunt him, because everybody, let's be honest, wants to see the Hulk come out, even the characters in the movie. And when it's not working, when Bruce is refusing to become the Hulk, David, Nick Nolte, he bites the electrical cables and he turns into Electro. Let's be honest, he looks flat out like Electro. I know he's Absorbing Man. I know he can become whatever he wants, whatever he touches, so he becomes electricity. But I just don't understand what these people, these military guys, what the point was, what the end goal was. This was a dumb idea by everybody involved, including the director. Because then you get Bruce Banner becoming the Hulk. So you do get a fight between the Hulk and Absorbing Man. But when I say fight, it's not that much of a fight, because Absorbing Man is just that. He's energy. He's not a true physical being. So it's Hulk almost fighting nothing. It's a really lame and awkward CGI fight that they end up in the water. And there's a moment. This is how this fight gets resolved, by the way. Because Absorbing Man can absorb everything and anything, he starts absorbing the Hulk's energy, his power, his anger. And so Bruce Banner realizes this, and he starts yelling for him to take everything. You want my power? Have it all! And so Absorbing Man absorbs so much of the Hulk's anger, so much of his energy, that it's too much for him, and he just explodes. Really? This is the big climactic fight? Wow. Everybody who shits on certain movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe shits on movies like Thor: The Dark World, or The Incredible Hulk, or even myself with Iron Man 3. This is what you had before that. Think about that before you shit on this movie again. This big bubble of water appears because that's supposed to look cool. The army sends a missile, which they think that they killed both of them. They think that the Hulk's dead, but he's not. Even though all of his energy was sucked out. I guess because his father blew up, the energy went back into him. Comic books, people! So then, 1 year later, we see Betty tell her father that she loves Bruce Banner. Oh, do you? I'll just have to take your word for it, because you're the reason why he's not here anymore, Betty. And the last shot is you see a scene of Bruce in the jungle dealing with these militant guys, this gang, and he tells him, you won't like me when I'm angry. His eyes turn green. Credits! Because I guess that's supposed to be the setup for a sequel. Hulk, Bruce, and the jungle. Wow! How exciting. How riveting. Honestly, this movie has some decent action moments, and I get why people might defend it, because it is deeper. It does try to get into like how like what makes Bruce Banner tick, and they try to involve his father as a villain to be connected to that. But I just don't care for this story at all. I don't care about how slow this movie is, all of these flashback scenes. Sure, it has some nice imagery. Sure, at least Ang Lee was going for something different, even with the style and the editing. And sure, there's a nice moment of even Bruce Banner having that dream where the Hulk sees him in the mirror and he grabs him and says puny human. I mean, I like that scene. And that's very comic book, but I just don't like this movie. I wanted to fall asleep watching this. It took me even a couple times rewatching this movie to get all the way through it. It's a tough watch. It's a tough sit. It's a long watch. I want to appreciate it. I want to respect it. I want to like it, but I can't. And the CGI is horrible. I don't like this movie. Let me know in the comments below if you like the Hulk film, if you disagree with me, or if you agree that it absolutely sucks. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!